Well, good morning. It is time for coffee talk. It's been 3 weeks. Had a great vacation. Just got back last Monday. I think I already mentioned it on the Saturday video, but I broke my own rule and I did not take a day off after my vacation. I didn't take a day off after all my day off. I went right back to work on Tuesday. Been a bit of a sprint. A lot of stuff going on. Say goodbye to the broken window. Hopefully tomorrow they start putting the windows in. And next coffee talk, I should have my office back with brand new windows. So we will see. We'll see what happens. You never know. Contractors around here after the storm, it's been kind of interesting. Anyway, back from vacation, like I said, so let's get into the coffee talk. We'll do the standard stuff. We'll have channel news. We'll look at some missions and specials. Subjects du jour. Lots of stuff to talk about. There's a lot of things going on. Pretty cool event coming up called Tank Festival. We'll take a look at that. And we'll talk a little bit about the flailing around and gnashing of teeth about the Brit lights, because I've been watching this for 2 weeks, as well as Homefront. We'll talk about that as well, because I think it's kind of interesting in the way that the community reacts to some of these things. So you'll get my views on that. So let's get started. We're going to go into channel news. It's like I had something else to say, but I didn't. So I'll just have a drink of coffee. Got a nice dark roast. I've got my mug sent to me from one of you guys from the Brit Air Force Museum. And on the 8th day, God created the Air Force because even the Army needs heroes. All right, let's get going. So I've been going on and on about my vacation. It was great. Here's a couple pictures coming up. The deck, a moose, some of the things we did, the hummingbird that I watched for hours upon hours. It was a good time up in the mountains of Utah, so I enjoyed that. I'll be streaming again. I have done a couple streams already, so you can expect me to do a little bit more of that, as much as I can anyway. Tends to be in the mornings or early afternoons. We'll see. That's always a work in progress on the streaming thing, but I do appreciate you guys coming by. I'm averaging 12, 15 people now, which is actually pretty darn good. Very much enjoyed that. So we'll continue with that. I think the biggest news that I've got right now is that I will be out at D-Day Canout, something like that. Let's see if we can bring up the webpage here. Second monitor. Oh yeah, here we go. So here it is, and I will put a link down below in the description, or maybe even splash it across. But this is the website here, D-Day Canout, and this place is just about a mile to the east of Cleveland, on the banks or on the shore of the, I think, Erie or something, one of the Great Lakes up there. You know, I really have all the details, don't I? I'm completely plugged in. Right now, Wargaming is going to fly me up there, put me up there, and we will be, the Royal We will be there on the 17th of August. So fly on the 16th, I'll be at the event on the 17th, and I leave on the 18th. The event is 15, 16, 17, I believe, on the weekend, Saturday being, I suppose, the big day. Although I don't know if they do the same show the whole time. If any of you guys have been there, you might be able to fill people in. But should be a really cool event. Very much looking forward to it. I had a little technical difficulty there. I was not sure that my mic was working, so I had to pause. Normally you just edit it out seamlessly, but I want you guys to know how the sausage is made back here. I looked down at my OBS and I was not seeing any of the sound stuff moving around, so I got very concerned that I was talking for no reason, which I suppose at the end of the day I'm always talking for no reason. But anyway, all of that aside, D-Day Canout. Come on out. Love to say hi to you, shake your hand. If you're going to be out there, that'll be fantastic. Take a look for me. I'll be out there with Wargaming, and I'm sure you'll be able to get some goodies and things from Wargaming if you go out as well. I will have video from that. We'll obviously do a couple videos of me out there doing that. Hopefully, who knows? I think a year ago or the last time they went, they said they got to be part of the enactment. That'll be kind of a hoot, I guess. Have no idea if anything like that's going to happen. So you will know as soon as I do, or very quickly afterwards. Okay, so D-Day Canout, check that out. That'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. Okay. Okie dokie. Where are we? Lost replays. Hey, so Wargaming, when they put out their patches, often break the older replays, as in you cannot play them anymore unless you have an older client loaded, and I just don't mess around with that. I did it a little while, and it's just a big hassle trying to always have that there. It's about a 50 gig program. Each one, as you well know, their clients are massive, and trying to juggle it and do all that, I just don't bother. So that being said, a lot of the replays I had a good dozen to 15 that I thought were really fantastic. Radley Walters, I had an 8,000 damage game, some other stuff. So I don't have access to those. Please keep sending them. I just received a couple today, a couple more. So that'll keep the hopper full for everybody, and we can keep doing the reviews and checking out everybody's gameplay. So that'll be really cool. How to send them? I'm getting a lot of files sent. I'm not gonna take files. I will not open files out of an email. Please send me a link from wattreplays.eu. Upload it to wattreplays.eu, and then I will download it from that site. Could I still get bad stuff from that? Sure. If somebody really wanted to get out my computer, there's many ways to do it. But I'm just trying to minimize security-wise some of the shenanigans that can happen. So there you go. That is the best way to send them. You can then, at that point, send me the link via email. You can send me the link via in-game direct message or in the forum as a message. I guess it's called in the forum. I don't know. Whatever it is in the forum. So either one of those three is a great way to do it. I've also had people put them on, hang them here, the link onto the YouTube site as a comment, or maybe in the comments section, the community section as well. Those sometimes get overlooked because I don't see every single comment. I'm pretty good. I'm probably about a 95% on seeing all the comments, but sometimes some slip through. So that's probably not the best way. You're taking your chances on that. I do see all of the ones that come into the forum comments or into the forum messaging, and I do see all of them, obviously, that come into the client because it's got a little flashing thing and it's hard to miss. So no problem there. And the emails. I see all the emails that you send as well. Okay, cool. Where are we? As I click around, and I don't know why it does that. It's very strange. All right, that's the Object 430 in case you're wondering. And there's something else. Okay. Bit slow this morning, guys. I mean, I had a nice time last time. I have a tank giveaway. I have 2 tanks to give away. I said, I think yesterday I would have the idea of how I'm going to do it. Today I don't, but it's going to be 2 Tier 8 premiums, and you will pick whatever one you want out of the store. So just give me some time on that. I'm still trying to think how I want to do it. I may end up doing one on stream and one via YouTube. And I'm considering doing it via subscribers, but I just have to make sure that I understand how all that works and how I can find whether you're a subscriber and all that kind of thing. Usually I just open it up to anybody out there. All right. Let's see. Guido Grind. Remember that I've got a... let's not get this thing away. Remember that I have a invite code, Guido Grind, GuidoGrind. So if you want to make a new account, you can then use Guido Grind, make a new account. You're going to get a RAM, you're going to get 3 days of premium, you're going to get, I think, 700 or 800 gold, and some personal reserves. So you can start off playing the game with your RAM 2, with a little bit of gold in there to move things around, and some personal reserves to help the initial grind there. Realize that the onboarding is actually pretty good, and there's some good missions there. So if I was doing it that way, I certainly would not use those personal reserves early. I'd go through the onboarding missions, and they will get you to pretty quickly to a tier 5, I think, maybe a tier 6. I think there was a free tier 6 involved in all that. And then once you get started and up to tier 6 or 7 with another line or a regular line that you're doing, then I would drop those and you could go from there. Lots of options, so check out that if you want to use the invite code for Guido Grind. The last thing is social media. I think I mentioned this last time. If you're interested in following me on all that garbage, that's how you sell it, on all that garbage. I'm actually on Instagram, so you can check that out. And my Instagram handle, I got to put my eyes on. Hold on. This actually speaks to something we're going to talk about a little while later about the demographics of my channel. Guido, the Guido 1212 on Instagram. The Guido 1212 on Instagram. I've also got, I think it would be kind of funny actually to get a bunch of us old guys doing Instagram and just sending, you know. All right, I'm gonna leave it. I'm just gonna leave it at that because Instagram is sort of infamous for being kind of silly, but you know what I'm talking about. On Twitter, it is soon as I call it up here. You know, a professional would have this set up. It's kind of strange. It's Guido1212 at Guido1212 and an extra 1. Guido1212 at Guido1212 1212, and then an extra 1 on there because somebody already had Guido1212. All right, cool. Follow that stuff if you want. The other good way to follow me is the community tab on YouTube. If you don't want to bother with all that mess on that, then I will post stuff on the community tab on YouTube to kind of keep you up to date to what's going on. And that'll be the 3 ways that I kind of get the news out for the channel and the streams and the things like that. Very cool. That is it. Let's go to missions and specials. Time to shill. All right, grab your coffee, man. Get your wallet out. Let's start paying people here. I wonder how much actual massive shilling I'm going to have to do out at D-Day Canal. Hopefully a lot. Looking forward to that. Let's look at the specials first. Even though I say missions and specials, remember, we always do specials first. It's how I try to trick you into buying things. T-34E shielded. I thought it was just a T-34 shielded. I don't know where the E came from. That's the first time, at least I've noticed that. The thing about that package, is it here or was that actually it? We'll get to it in a minute. Nope, there it is. It is only a $64 package. At least for me, it's 64, down from 81, and I think I can apply a coupon to it. So you can't just buy the 34E now, I guess, shielded, unless you want a big package. That was something that you could get for a marathon, and they're calling it a collector's item, blah blah blah, and selling it for $64. Why is it not just sold for 20 or whatever a tier 5 is? That makes 0 sense. It is something I've mentioned a lot, and really it's a rhetorical question I'm asking, because the reason is they're attempting to make a false sense of scarcity. Whatever. It's their store, isn't it? They can do what they want, even if it irritates everybody. The TOG is out. I guess you could have won that. There was a big event. Some people actually won the TOG through a big slog. I'm going to go tangent here just for a second, because I was thinking about this as I was researching today's coffee talk and making my coffee and adding my nice hazelnut creamer into it, because that's delicious. That about a year ago I could keep track of all the missions and specials and had a really good idea of what all was happening. There's so much happening now at every moment, and so much stuff piling on. I don't know. And I get the feeling, to be quite honest, that sometimes the community guys that I work with at the North American office aren't really sure of everything that's going on. It's not, and I'm not talking about an incompetence. It's just, it's coming at them so fast that they're like, oh yeah, that's, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh. And it's just such a reactionary kind of thing. So I'll tell you what, if I miss something that's important, please put it down in the comments for everybody. Because I would have bragged maybe a year and a half ago when I started all this stuff that, yeah, I'm kind of on top of this. I've got most of the things that are going on. I don't know now, man. I'm doing my best, but there is a lot of crap going on. I said that like it's bad. I mean, it's good, but it's interesting as well. The Panhard EBR 75 FL is out there. That's that very irritating premium one. And you know what, folks? It's almost time for an EBR screed to come from Guido. I try not to go negative too much, but I think it's about time to do that. I'll give it a thought, because right now I'm sort of irritated by the whole thing, and it's always best to maybe cool off and sit back for a minute and get a little perspective, and that actually is a good segue into some things we'll talk about later. It's a good tank. It's fun. It is fun, right? I mean, if you can handle driving it and got the hand-eye coordination, then it's great. Is it good for the game? I don't think so. All right, this was interesting. The Gross Tractor. It's not a terrible tank. It's not great. People kind of are down on it quite a bit, but it's actually a decent. Was it tier 3? I mean, it's a tier 3. What do you want from it? Really, it's a tier 3. But what I thought was interesting is that this is. If you remember in the past, I've gone on and on. I've gone on about this just a little bit. That when it is 30 days. Or it's a premium with an extra tank, you don't get the gold for the tank. That's what they've said in the past. And this was interesting because it's Gross Tractor, 100% crew, garage slot, and a premium account. Now, it lists the Gross Tractor first and premium account second, but up here it says 30 days and Gross Tractor. And if we go up here to premium account, it's here as if it is a premium account offer with a tank. Now, the details is where it typically said down here that you don't get gold for the tank, but that is not there on this particular tank. And if I do this and I go purchase, it's $12.59. It's already discounted 30%. If I go purchase, it actually allows me to apply my 10% coupon, and I can bring it down to $11.33 for 30 days of premium, and maybe gold, but I don't know. I'll get a garage slot as a bare minimum, and I think the silver, potentially, whatever a tier 3 is worth, 300 or 125 or whatever it is. I may try that just for giggles because I've got some money in the PayPal account from the YouTube channel and whatnot. So let's find out. I don't know. I may do that. I will get back to you if I decide to do that. It's 30 days of premium. I don't really need them at 386, you know. But I'm sort of curious. And the reason I bring all that up is it's irritating. Because there's no real reason why you shouldn't get the gold for the tank just because they've decided it's, where's my hand, that it's premium with a tank or it's a tank with premium. What the effing difference is there, right? There's none. All right, bit of a tangent. So back to featured. If anybody clicks on that and finds out, let me know. It's not a bad deal once I put the coupon on there, because we're talking about 30 days of premium for $11, and it's normally, well, naturally you can't get it without doing it that way. I don't know, what is this? 14 is 9, so there you go. It has to be a great deal. If you did 14 twice, it'd be $18. There you go. Plus the tank, maybe. Well, the tank if you don't have it, the gold maybe if you do have it. Is that enough on that? I think we had enough on that. Guido, move on. Copy, moving on. Here we go. We're done with all this stuff. Gold we talked about. There's nothing really going on gold-wise that I can recommend. The quick starter kit's always a good deal, but how many times are you going to buy that? Don't know. Premium account we looked at. Vehicles. I think we talked about the T-34 Shielded and the TOG. The Kanonen is back in. That's nice. That's a good tank. The Sturv is a good tank. The Dickermax it's a tier 6 TD casemate. It's okay. Got a great gun. Really cool depression. Interesting tank. This Sturv is better than you might think. It really is. It is better than you might think. Centurion 5.1 is very good premium. Tier 8. The 50 TP is okay. Not too bad. And then we've got the Gross Tractor thing going on and the rest of them. So what I talked about giving away the free tanks, what you're going to be able to do is go in here and go, I want that one. Whatever is there. I don't think you're going to be able to do packages. It might be limited to just the standard priced stuff, right? Well, these guys right here. But I'll talk to Domo about that one right there. Okay, that is all of that. Let's move on to the missions. There's a lot of really cool things going on. All right, the first thing I wanted to show you on the missions and such is that Care Package Golf is out right now. And you get a commander for your German cruise, or a special German commander, and some rental packages. I think the Kanonen and maybe the Dickermax or something along that line, and some other little goodies. But the big thing, I think, in this particular one, it is kind of interesting that they haven't done the same thing as the Captured Tiger yet. They've only done that once, where you actually get a tank. There's been rentals, and in theory, the Captured Tiger, King Tiger, is a rental, but it's a permanent rental as long as you have Twitch Prime. Remember, if you have Amazon Prime, you have Twitch Prime. If you didn't know that, just go to Twitch and sign up. Tell them you got Amazon Prime, link those accounts, and off you go. You get these care packages. These crew members are really good because he comes with 6 cents, repair, and jack of all trades automatically, which is a weird setup, really. Jack of all trades is kind of useless, at least to me. There's a much better setup for a commander. What I have done with these guys is I've spent 200 gold and redone their skills. 6 cents, obviously, but Brothers in Arms 6 cents, and then one of the vision things is what I do. But I haven't recruited him in yet. He is Der Kaffer, which apparently means beetle. So he's Ferdinand the Beetle Volk, which Volk, I believe, means people, right? So I don't know. Isn't Ferdinand an elephant? Elephant beetle folk? Is that what's going on there? All right. So there you go with that. Looking at the missions before we get into the kind of the big events that are going on. XP Fever is going on this weekend. Very nice. I mean, these are big chunks. Wargaming's done a lot to speed up the grind with XP. Before I forget, because I just saw it, there is a conversion weekend going on. It's 1 to 40 for the weekend. So take advantage of that if you are sitting on a bunch of gold and you need some free experience. These are the care package golf missions, so there are missions involved with those. We've talked about those in the past. The Sacred War. This, I don't know why it's called the Sacred War. I have no idea. I don't know. But that's how you get gas for Homefront. We'll talk about Homefront in a minute. Tank Mastery missions. Remember, you got to do the codes for this. Okay, so codes. I did a couple of them. I don't think I did the 2 on the 2 tanks I might actually play, potentially. The other 2 are lower tier, I don't worry about. Other missions are the standard things, nothing going on there. It is a Hunt the Sheriff weekend, by the way. So there should be a lot of sheriffs running around. If you don't know how that works, basically they will put a post in the forum. For those of you who don't go to the forum, they'll put a post in the forum and then you just sign up. You put in, hey, I want to do it. And they will give you access to a sheriff account, which has every tank unlocked, has a ton of gold and credits and blah, blah, blah. And every crew for every tank has every skill. And then you can play that account for the weekend, and every time you die, you give away 250 to whoever kills you. And it's a great deal because you can play all kinds of tanks that you have not played before. Premium missions are standard. If you have a premium account, you get these things, which is actually a really good deal. You can crank up some pretty good bonds doing that. 25 a day, just for playing about 3 games, 3 or 4, I think it takes to get there, depending on how it goes. And those are the missions. All right, so what we got next then is, we talked about Sheriff's Weekend. Tank Festival. Let's talk about this because it's upcoming. All right, Tank Festival. So I was just kind of going through this, researching what we're going to talk about today, and I was looking at this over here, and I came down and I saw Grand Event Tank Festival, and it's not really anniversary weekend. Yeah, there's the ×5 this weekend. I forgot to tell about that, so that's out there. The Shielded Tank, yeah. Hunt the Sheriff, we talked about that. Mastery event, yeah. The Scouts, we'll talk about that in a minute. Root for the NA clan. I think they lost actually to EU, but it was close. So shout out, was it you, Joe, I guess? I think that's who it was. Good on them, good effort. But I think they lost. In any event, there wasn't a lot going on here as far as amazing things. And eventually I came down to this. I said, what is Tank Festival? And probably a lot of you are already aware of it. So you click on there. And it grinds around really slowly, and we come up to Tank Festival Rolls Out. And this is going to start in August and goes through September, so it's about 2 months. It is tied into Wargaming's anniversary. It's a grand event, so there's quite a few things going on here. I'll just touch on them. I'm not going to dig into it too much. The first thing is dog tags. It's going to be during the festival, and each one of the events and things you can gain tickets. And tickets will allow you to customize your dog tags. The idea is that when you kill somebody, then you know how it shows your name? Your dog tag will be there as well, and you can customize it depending on how much you've done, how many tickets you've spent on it. It's all convoluted as usual, but so you have to dig into it. I'll break it down later when it actually comes out and we can see how it works. But you can watch the video and right here, and it will tell you basically how it works. The other thing that's interesting is there will also be a store eventually unlocked, which will allow you to get personal reserves and equipment and some other things for these tickets. These tickets will only be for the event, so as soon as the event's over, apparently, actually I gave it, I want to say it said by October 7th or something like that, you had to use your tickets and then they go away. But much like the Christmas events and things where you have to buy the gifts and things that you're getting, by a certain date. All right, so that's what's going on there with the dog tags. The Czech holidays are going to, I think they're doing a Czech on track tie-in with this, so there may be ways to get tickets through that. Frontline episode 7 is mid-August, so in a week or so, week and a half, 2 weeks. It's been the 3rd week every month, right? So I would expect it the 3rd week of August. So that's episode 7. Remember, there's only 10, so if you're planning on getting to that tier 9, you got to get on it. I'm sort of in hurting status. I'm going to say I'm probably only on tier, is it tier, what's it called? Whatever it's called, on 4 or 5. I got a lot of work to do if I'm going to do this. Right, I'm even debating whether I'm going to. We'll see what happens when August rolls around. Steel Hunter is another event. You're in Mysterious Zone 404. This will be the most extraordinary battle you've ever experienced, and only you will be able to decide its outcome. PvE for only the player? Maybe? That's speculation. There's no other information that I can find right now on what this is. I did not look at the blogs. There may be some leaks and things on the blogs. I didn't look at those today, so potentially if you look around those, but that's interesting. We'll see what happens with that. The festival calendar, this mentions that there's going to be sales along the way. Maybe, things like Christmas or whatever, where there's sales of tanks as you go. So potentially pay attention to the calendar and the stuff that's on sale, and I'll report on this as I find out more. Then Frontline Episode 8. Remember, you saw 7 up here, and now we're down to 8. This is in September, also tied into the event, obviously. And then Tank Races. I think it will be Episode 8. Since you can be 2 ahead, you'll start to see the Tier 9 reward tank on Episode 8. Because you have to have done 10 ranks or tiers, I can't remember what the heck they're called right now, in order to get it. And so people who are ahead of the game should be in September. You'll start to see those prize tanks show up. And then Tank Races. This should excite quite a few people. There's a lot of video in that video. There's a lot of imagery in that video of the tank races with a Chaffee just jumping stuff and driving around. So you might get a little taste of what they're looking at for the tank races there. And that's at the end of September, and that's probably about the end of the event. So Tank Festival. A lot of stuff going on with that, so watch out for it. It's going to start on August 8th, which is actually, is that a Friday or what is that? That's a Thursday, August 8th, all right? So this coming Thursday is when that will start. All right, let's move on. So I mentioned earlier that we talk about, being old and putting glasses on to read because it was kind of apropos to my demographics on my channel. I just wanted to show you this. I thought it was interesting. I knew this as a generalization before, but I didn't realize how pretty solid it is that my audience skews very much older. And it was a bit surprising. So if you look at gender, we've got 100% male, apparently, or at least listed male. I suppose there are accounts maybe that don't have it listed. You can probably say, tell them no. So 100% of the people who have told YouTube they're male, there you go. That's the subscriber of 100%. Does that make sense? I have no idea what I just said. I think you understand what I said, even though I said it very poorly. If you look at the age, 35 and above, 45%, 35 to 44, 54%, 45 to 54, and not a single person below 34 years old. I thought that was really, really interesting. Again, I think there's a possibility there's some of you out there who, in your YouTube profile or whatever they're tracking, didn't tell them how old you are. I suppose that's possible. Although I don't know. But anyway, I thought that was of passing interest right there. Definitely skewing older. One of the reasons I started looking into that, I was looking at the analytics on the channel, trying to figure out what are the things that work and what are the things that don't work. For a long time, I didn't worry about it. I just did whatever I wanted on the channel, right? Just hobbyist and cruising along doing what I like to do. And I got a lot of people. I mean, we got 1,500 or so and some change that have joined up. But now I'm sort of looking at, all right, so how do I maybe aim this channel a little better and get a few more followers in the area that I'm doing well in? What I did find out is that tank reviews are the most popular thing, which is really interesting, actually. And by popular, I mean they get the most views. I think that's largely, well, it's two things. When I first put them out, they get more views to begin with than a regular daily post that I do. So that's off the top. The second one is they're more useful down the line. People will often reference back to them, or people who are grinding that line will be looking for a review on that tank, and then hopefully mine pops up and they take a look at it. So they're more relevant for longer. Although I will say that personally, I think any of my videos that are of the last 3 or 4 months that are on tactics are going to be pretty meta as far as what we're talking about. So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. I just wanted to throw that out in case you guys are interested in what the channel was and really who's aimed at it. It tends to be a lot of obviously older men with quite a few veterans and people who are interested in the military or military games or whatever. That's it, man. Let's move on. We're going to go to Homefront. Let's talk about Homefront. Oof. Well, all right, home front. So here it is. You can see I've got 71 cans of gas, and thank you to Wargaming. They sent me about 50 so I could do content. I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure whether I'm going to do a replay for content. I don't know. I'm just going to talk about it because I'm a little bit flummoxed by the whole thing, to be quite honest. And I'd really like your feedback because I know there's some of you that love PvE and probably like this mode quite a bit, even if there's some of the mechanics that you don't like. So let's touch on that for just a little bit. I think a lot of people are irritated that it was gated behind the cans of gas, as in you could play 4 games or so a day until you tripped the second level. Was it level or tier? Yeah, level. Can we go off on a tangent about how many different terms they have for levels, tiers, episodes? It's hard to track. And you know what? I guess you have to do something, right? But wow, it's hard to track. Anyway, level 2, well, I think gives you some more cans of gas. So once you trip that, you get some more to play some more. I know that it wasn't popular, but at the same time, and it's all tied together on the whole PvE thing because people are mad that they weren't able to play more, but I'm thinking, well, if they let you play more, then potentially you're finishing it really fast, or they make the requirements so big that it becomes a giant grind. So which one is it, right? You know what I mean? So yeah, you have to be realistic about it. They gated it against cans of gas, so you can only play a little bit, but the requirements. Well, I was about to say the requirements were achievable. That's another subject. Some of the requirements were achievable. But it really is a difficult thing, I think, for them to decide how to do it, right? They can either let you just grind it out and people will be done in 2 days and done with the mode, really, at the end of the day. Or they can gate it and make it last a little bit longer and be less of a grind while being long in terms of time, 2 weeks, but short in terms of the amount of time you spend playing it. There's other speculation that they just didn't want so many people piling into that mode that it hurt their PvP side. I don't know. I mean, it's really interesting how it's come off. Now, the reason I wanted to lay that out there is for me PvP, I don't get it. I'm sorry, PvE, I don't really get it. What's the purpose? Well, Guido, the purpose is fun. Okay, well, it was amusing for a couple games. It was. But you're fighting against bots, and they have a very specific route they go. And I would say after about a dozen, 20 games, you probably have a good idea of where they're all going to go on each map. So you can then position yourself to take them out, even though people still screw up and play poorly. But I don't know, man. I don't get it. What's the point? Well, the point is to get some camo. Okay, and the grand prizes were these. What do they call advanced equipment? Whatever they're called. The bonus equipment, the advanced equipment. That's it. Those two. That's the whole thing. Now, the other part of it that's irritating people is that there was a definite pay to advance and /win, as in not win the game, but win the prizes, where you could spend gold, and I think it's 9,000 if you did each, right? There was a package for 1,500 gold, sorry, not 15,000, or 350. Where is that? Is that in the description? It's hard to can't remember where it was. Anyway, that's how you play all that stuff right there. Anyway, you could pay gold. You could either buy yourself to level 2 or you could buy yourself to level 3. And it looked like, based on a relatively reasonable amount of gameplay, that you could, some people have done the math, that you could buy all the tier 2 or the level 2 stuff and then grind your way to the level 3 and probably get to the 2,000 that's required of points, 2,000, whatever they call them, home front points, to get the advanced equipment. It's improved equipment, right? And unfortunately, I'm doing my mouse behind my picture. This one here, right? So 2,000. I have 411 of the 2,000 I needed. I'm never going to make it. I just really didn't play it very much. You can see I got the level 2 on 2 of these. I didn't spend any gold. Could have easily. I got a lot of gold. I got the level 2 just barely on this one. That's giving me camo. So I think most people are saying, you know what, play it to level 2. That's pretty easy to get yourself to level 2. Play it to there, get your camo, and don't worry about the improved equipment. At which point I'm kind of thinking, I still don't get it, man. There's no credits. There's no experience. There's no free experience. There's some prize stuff along the way, which I don't remember. It doesn't show up very easily here. I thought there was a way to look at it. Maybe it's under the description. Do we see the prizes here? There you go. So you get some more fuel, you get your camo, and you get 5 directives. So those things apply to the regular PvP game. But the time spent, as far as the damage you do, the experience you should get, the credits you might be able to get, none of that goes to your main account. So you're spending hours upon hours playing a game mode against bots, which is the same stuff over and over again, in order to get you some camo, a few directives, and if you've spent some gold, a chance at, actually you can get a regular gun laying drive, so there's another piece of equipment, a chance at the improved equipment. I'm going to say it again. I don't get it. I really don't get the point. It's just, no. So let me take the other side of the coin a little bit here, because they were trying to do, you remember the historical mode that they had years and years ago? I actually thought it was kind of cool. I wasn't really that deep into the game at the point. I'd played it a lot, but I wasn't paying real close attention to meta and things. I was just sort of derping along playing the game. I played it a bit. I thought it was cool. It had problems, which I didn't really pay attention to because I was busy grinding. But it was a similar situation, though, because I was busy grinding playing the PvP game, and every moment I spent messing around on the historical version took away from me grinding tanks on the PvP game, and there was no real correlation. I don't remember if you made experience or credits on that one either. But in this case, if I'm sitting there grinding the PvP, looking at this, then I'm thinking, well, why would I waste time on this for some very limited rewards? Very limited rewards. It would have to be really, really fun. And it's interesting, but it's not really, really fun. My thoughts were a bit scattered on that, but I think you get the picture of where I'm coming from. And again, I just have to say, I don't really get it. I understand that they were trying to make a cool mode, that they're trying to satisfy people who want PvE, and maybe even some people who were interested in the historical piece of it. But then there's these layers of gated stuff on top. There's the idea that it doesn't really connect to the PvP game, except tangentially in the case of some directives and very small rewards that really don't matter. You can only play it a couple times a day unless you spend money. This is a sort of mobile gaming idea right here, with a mode that is temporary and is not really that compelling. That's what's interesting about it. Does it have potential? I think so. And I think what you're going to see is they're going to change a lot of this kind of fuel stuff. That I think the other community contributors that I've watched, the biggest things have been the fuel, the gated behind the fuel, and the pay to advance. And I would concur with that. I don't think I'm nearly as irritated as some of them are about it. That's going to play into what we're going to talk about next, because as I watch the community, and not just community contributors, but the community in general, deal with things like this, there's so much hype and wailing and gnashing of teeth. It's sort of silly at times, and that's one of the things I try not to do too much on this channel. Obviously, if it's something that really irritates me, then I'll talk about it. I think there's a difference between passion and just pure emotion. You can have a passion for it and be passionate about what you're saying, but there doesn't need to be so much, flailing around that happens, which we've gone off on a tangent, but we're going to talk about it in a minute in relation to the Brit light tanks. So I'm really interested. Let me know. What do you think about Homefront? Some of you may really like the PvE. What's nice about it? Well, there's no stats. There's no enemy team, which they're bots, but they're not people. I don't know why that's a difference, to be quite honest. For some people, that's a big deal. They don't want to fight other humans. And I suppose at the end of the day, it's psychological. It's like, whatever, I lost to the computer, I don't care. But if I lose to a human, then I care more. It's still a pixel game. You know what I mean? It's a computer game, folks. Who cares if you lose to a bot or a person as far as that goes? And the person's well more interesting to fight against. That's me though. I suppose if it was tied a little closer to the PvP aspect, I might be a little bit more interested, as in you get credits potentially or experience or something that helps you build in the PvP side. But the danger with that is, and we've seen this in other games, people will bail out of the PvP and just go PvE, and they'll grind the snot out of PvE. Even if it's like a 10% of what you might get in PvP, people will still do it PvE. And then that takes them away from the PvP queue. So, it's a developer question. They're going to have to deal with it. So they've sort of let the genie out of the bag here, and I think they've tried to have the best of both worlds. And when you do that, you kind of get a bit of a mishmash, and I think that's really what we've got here. So it will be interesting to see if this ever comes back and in what format it comes back. All right, that's enough of that stuff. Let's move on to the next thing. All right, so who's fired up about the Brit Light tanks, huh? And who's fired up about getting fired up about the Brit Light? I've been watching this for 2 weeks, and since I've been unable to comment while I was on vacation, I thought this would be interesting to sit back for a minute and just sort of watch this happen. As you know, I don't really do test server stuff, so I'm not going to comment too much or do any content necessarily on the actual tanks until they come out on the live server. I just don't see the point of it. People do like to get the inside scoop, and there is an argument to be made for good players looking at test server stuff and helping Wargaming and giving them feedback. So that's fine. That's just not me. I don't like to do the hype train thing. That's just me, my personal problem. And man, there has been a hype train on these things, and generally negative. They are interesting tanks because, from what I can tell, they are a little underpowered, not overpowered, and that, to me, that's a good thing, especially on the test side. I have gone on record and said a test server is really bad for checking balance. A test server is very good for making sure the mechanics of things work, that the hitboxes are right, that the tank drives correctly, that kind of thing, that when you click, a shell comes out and it hits something within the server and it understands how all the pieces of that tank work together. As far as the meta and balance go, a test server is awful for that. And we have had many bad tanks, both bad like terrible or bad like overpowered for the game, because of attempts to balance things in test servers. And we don't need to get into the details about why that is, but anyone with any common sense can just look at it and go, people play differently there. They tend to be some of the more experienced, better players to begin with, or at least more experienced, and you play differently on a test server. So there is very little value. There's some, granted, but very little value on balance on a test server. That being said, you can obviously see some things coming. They're fairly obvious. The 268 version 4 should have been very obvious. How that got through the test server and somebody didn't nerf it, I don't know. Is it some kind of conspiracy? Whatever, I don't know. We'll just leave that. But these things were looking to be slightly underpowered, except for a couple things that I think were not really considered. And they've got a little buff, and all of a sudden now people are sort of coming, and it was a very little buff. Not much has changed with them. All of a sudden some of the CCs and people are coming back going, well, maybe they're not that bad. Well, yeah, but 2 weeks ago everyone was flailing around and spazzing out about how they're useless and terrible. Go look at the videos. It's ridiculous. These people lost their ever-loving minds. I'm happy with things to be released slightly underpowered, especially initially on a test server. It's very, very difficult for Wargaming to dial things back without the community losing their minds. It's easier to buff them a little bit. So I think that's the right track. Now, what are the things that are going to make these okay? What are the things that are going to make these okay that aren't really being considered? Well, they're tiny. They're hard to hit. You like trying to hit an ELC even 90? That's basically what these dudes are. And they're going to go up to tier 10. Now, I think the tier 10 is slightly larger than an ELC of a 90, but that's the general idea. We're talking about tiny little tanks that move pretty dang quickly. They're going to be hard to hit. That is a kind of armor for an ELC, and to some extent the wheeled tanks based on their speed, and relatively small size, although they are kind of large. But that just makes it physically difficult for a player to hit them. Not all players. Some players just have that gift of hand-eye, and it's not going to be a problem. But the smaller the tank, the harder they are to hit. Not because the game goes, hey, there's a different calculation for a small tank. It's because your eye and your hand trying to get that mouse on a small guy moving fast, that's harder, right? You can pretty much aim at the billboard side of a mouse and hit it easily. But if you're trying to hit that maneuvering ELC even 90, that's a bear. For most people, right? You'll get people on the forum come in and say, it's easy, I can do it all the time, blah. You know what I'm saying? All right, so they're small. Their camo is going to be massive. It's kind of popular now to say mediums can do everything lights can do, and lights are worthless, blah, blah, blah. Well, lights carry their camo while moving. That is a massive, massive advantage for them. And when they're also a tiny, tiny tank, that is a great advantage for them because they can get into little bushes and places that other people can't get. They can get closer than you might think. That is going to be the strength of these tanks. Some negatives. They are a little bit weak. The guns tend to have a really long reload. They have very low DPM, which probably needs to be buffed a little bit. They need to have some DPM. You can't just make a pure passive tank in today's meta and World of Tanks. They have to be able to contribute something other than just passive scouting. So that is something that needs to be worked on. One of the bad things about them that, and probably for me, the worst thing about their design, never mind the DPM, never mind, maybe they're not fast enough, all that kind of thing. The worst thing that is happening with these is that the crews are like 2 people. And that's a massive disadvantage. Why? Because a 2-person crew has to have all those different skill sets piled onto them. Loader, gunner, driver, radio operator, commander. They have to share those, which means because of the way the skill system works, each new skill being twice as hard to get, these guys are going to be at a huge disadvantage for, say, against an LT-100 or another scout that has a 4-person crew and is able to have a bunch more skills for the same given amount of total experience. See what I'm saying? That's a massive disadvantage. Historically, they may be 2 crew vehicles. Wargaming needs to make them 3, period, dot. They all need to be at least 3. 2 is terrible. The other problem with 2 is an arty hit that goes next to you and kills 2 guys and you're done. You've seen it with 3-person tanks. It happens every now and again. Not very often, but with 2, it's easy to take 2 guys out. Very easy, especially on a lightly skinned tank. That's going to be a real pain in the rear. And to me, that's the biggest issue Wargaming needs to fix on these things. Otherwise, they're just going to be really gimped. I think as far as capability goes, as far as the actual tank and the camo, the size, being hard to hit, that's all going to be fine. There's nothing really wrong with the tanks. The crew thing is a big deal, though. Now, if you do a crew restructure, which they've been talking about, then maybe that goes away because it's more of a World of Warships. You just build your skills on the crew and it's not really tied to a crew member. Okay, that's fine. I hope they don't do that because I actually like messing around with crews. It's just one of those grognard things that I sort of enjoy. And that's a completely different subject. But potentially then the 2 crew problem goes away. But what doesn't go away is the HE thing. Although potentially if they go to a World of Warships style, then killing crew with HE is going to have to go away too, isn't it? Unless it's actually just affecting the skill or something. I don't know how they would do that. I've gone off onto a tangent there. So it's been fun to watch the general shenanigans of people losing their minds about the unreleased as of yet British light tanks. And then the bit of the walk back as people started to realize, well, okay, maybe they're not going to be that bad. Well, you just spazzed and the entire community is in an uproar. And then you're kind of like, oh, well, yeah, I guess they're probably fine. You kind of sneak off the stage. You're just up there flailing around, spazzing out. But that sells videos, doesn't it? That's where clicks come from. Look at the titles. People call it clickbait, but of course that's the game. That's what happens. But sometimes when I see it, I just roll my eyes and it's come on, man. Come on, man. All right, holy cow, this has been long. I need to wrap this up. It's already 9:30. I need another cup of coffee anyway, so I need to edit this and get it out to y'all. So I'm back. There you go, Coffee Talk. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I do appreciate it. I'll see you at D-Day Connaught. Somebody told me how to pronounce it the other day. In Ohio, I guess, in a couple weeks. But there'll be a Coffee Talk between now and then. All right, we'll see you.